can't believe that the policies I voted for are having an adverse effect on my ability to run my farm. First, ICE shows up and deports all my workers that I secretly hate but need to support my lifestyle. And now inflation's made it impossible to buy farming equipment. Man, racism's expensive. And the climate change I don't believe in has set my crops back decades. Well, you know the tariffs that God told us would save the economy? Well, apparently, they're the reason I can't sell any of my soybeans outside the country. They're getting them cheaper elsewhere. What the hell are we supposed to do now? What if we beg Daddy Trump to give us a handout just to get... I think it only counts as socialism if the money goes to someone we hate. Whew, thank God. I thought I was gonna...
Does anybody care about Nebraska? That's the question that's going around TikTok right now, and to that, I respond with two questions. Did Nebraska care about anybody else? And does Nebraska care about Nebraska? Because, you see, God helps those who help themselves. And when you Nebraskans walked into the voting booth and overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump to be president, and now you're feeling the effects of that, this isn't I told you so. This is an FAFO. And I know there are Nebraskans out there that voted for Kamala Harris and did not fall into the trap of Donald Trump. Unfortunately, there were not enough of you. And now the rumors, and I'm having a hard time substantiating some of this, but the vibe that's going around is that Nebraska basically looks to be bankrupt in about 6 months because of the undocumented migrants that are being deported, or just the fact that undocumented migrants make up a large portion of their state and workforce on the farms. And they're not showing up to work because they're now afraid they're going to be deported. So Nebraskans, especially farmers in Nebraska, did you think any further than the front of your face? Did you think any further, or were you just blinded by hate? And now people are coming out here asking, what about Nebraska? Do you guys care about Nebraska? No, I've already answered it, but the short answer is no. No, we don't. We don't care about Indiana, where I'm from. We don't care about Kentucky losing their bourbon up in Canada. We don't care about Jack Daniels in Tennessee. We don't care about the auto industry in Michigan. Are we all going to feel this? Yes, it's going to hurt. The disruptions in the food supply from Nebraskan farmers is going to hurt everybody. We are not immune, but we can't care. We can't care.
Nebraska, it seems that you should always be grateful for what you have. And at this point, y'all wasn't grateful enough because you thought voting against your interests was better for you. Now, Nebraska's about to go broke. They say Nebraska's going to go broke in about 5 months. They'll be filing for bankruptcy. The whole entire freaking state, not just one farm. All of them, whole state. Because Nebraska is a cattle ranch state. You know, they got corn and all that stuff. But all the farmers are going broke and about to lose their farms. You want to know why? I bet you can guess why. But see, this is what voting against your interests gets you. Now, how long did Trump say, if I'm elected, I'm deporting everybody? He's been saying it for 2 years. But yet and still, the Nebraska farmers who own all these cattle farms and corn and all soybean, all this farmland, 95% of their workers are undocumented workers because they can get the good labor for a cheaper price. Being that Trump had already stopped all the free money going to the farmers, the farmers decided, we gonna vote with Trump. We gonna vote with Trump. Now, they ain't got no workers because either the workers have been deported or they not showing up. So all of these farmers are going broke and about to lose their farm. My question is, When you voted for Trump in 2016 and all those farmers lost their farm, did you think it wasn't going to happen again? When he told you over and over and over again that if he's elected, he's going to deport everybody, documented, undocumented. If you look to be Mexican, you got to get out of here. So, Nebraska, you decided we gonna rock with our boy. Fuck them farms. We don't need them farms. Because Kamala and Biden saved your asses one time. But Trump told you exactly what he was gonna do. And he's done it. Now, all of y'all up there crying and making videos and talking about how stupid are we? You stupid as hell. Because you voted against yourself. You are that racist. You have that much hate for another race of people that you voted against your own well-being, knowing that these people work for you. They come to work every day. But you know who ain't coming to work on your farm? Them other white people that ain't got no job. That's sitting at home, getting that check. They ain't coming out. So now what you gonna do? You can't save yourself because you doomed yourself when you voted for Trump. See, this is what racism and hatred does for you. You hated Mexicans that much that you are about to lose your livelihood, your farm, your life, your home, your house, your land, everything. Simply for hate, racism. There's no other way to put it. You did that to yourself. Now live with.
So maybe this is another unpopular opinion, but I feel like you should have to live with the repercussions of your vote. And if you don't want to live with the repercussions of your vote, maybe you should actually vote a different way. But if you do vote that way, then you should have to live with that repercussion of your vote. And if it causes you to go bankrupt and for you to lose everything, then so be it. That is on you. So I hope going forward that you've learned from this and that you will vote a different way and vote for something that actually is for your best interest. Most likely you probably won't.
Arrested. If you're a cop and you break the law, you get arrested. If you're a priest and you break the law, you get arrested. If you're a soldier and you break the law, you get arrested. If you're ICE and you break the law, nothing. What the fuck is this? Why aren't mayors ordering the police department to arrest these motherfuckers? I don't understand. They're breaking the law. They're racial profiling people. They're kidnapping people. They're busting into people's homes and businesses without warrants. They're beating up people. Arrest these motherfuckers. What the fuck is going on? That's what the police is supposed to do. Arrest people that break the law. It doesn't matter what fucking job they have. So what? They work for the federal government. They don't get arrested? Fuck that. Order your police departments to arrest these motherfuckers. They're breaking the law every fucking...
I saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cabin. I can confirm that ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants. And they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now. We are going to go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported, and he was coming after immigrants. Yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
Let me tell you a little story about why they're trying to wipe out the farmers. Once upon a time, organic food was just food. Grass-fed beef was just beef. And raw milk, that's right, it's just milk. Crazy, right? But then things started to change. Farmers who just want to grow real healthy food for the people were forced to legally use government-issued pesticides and chemicals. This ruined the land and made the people sick. Then came the schemes. Farmers were offered money. They were literally paid to not grow food. Instead, they were told to grow wildflowers and scatter birdseed. Sounds nice on the surface. But what happens when less food gets grown? Prices rise and scarcity sets in. At the same time, fertilizer costs quadrupled. And here's the kicker. £500 million was taken away from our farmers and handed to farmers abroad. You have to ask yourself why. They blame the so-called climate crisis and say cows' farts are the problem. Really? Meanwhile, the world's largest landowners are pushing for us to eat bugs and lab-grown foods. It's just all part of the agenda. To 1, control what goes into our food. 2, to wipe out the farming industry piece by piece. And 3, to make sure family farms are lost to inheritance tax forever. It's all part of the bigger plan. Because remember this, no farmers means no real food. When you control the food supply, you control the people. So here's what you can do. Support your local farmers whenever you can. Buy from farm shops. Choose grass-fed, hand-reared meats, unhomogenized milk, and real free-range eggs. Stop filling your body with supermarket food-like products. These are designed to keep you weak. Because every time you buy local, you're keeping real food alive.
Last night I watched video after video of farmers who might lose their farms because the government is reneging on contracts they wrote with these farmers. Hi guys, my name's Will, your favorite rural campaign and elections expert, and let's talk about it. Now the problem is President Trump's order to freeze most federal grants and loans has created a panic and uncertainty within the agricultural sector, which relies on billions of dollars in direct government assistance for loans, disaster relief, and conservation practices, many of which have been around since the days of FDR, and farmers have begun to rely on them. Now, if you've watched the news at all, you know that a federal judge blocked the order on Tuesday. The problem is, and what the media isn't telling you, is that farmers and ranchers over the last week to 10 days have begun to receive letters telling them that the government may not be able to live up to the promises they made in these signed contracts with farmers and ranchers, conservation, and increase productivity on the farm. Sadly, I watched one cattle farmer video last night in the state of Missouri where he said that he's going to fall 80,000.
This is my 39th crop. I started in 1986, the year I graduated high school. I could plant an acre of beans in 1986 for $30. It irritates me that you don't have the guts to acknowledge that the people do not pay the tariffs. I don't care if it's John Deere, Case, Caterpillar, all that stuff is outsourced overseas. And the guy that pays it is the guy that purchases it. I can buy a bearing for a combine, and it's made in Taiwan or who knows where. Parts have over doubled in the last year, if you can get them. The dealer at Marshall has a backlog for almost 4 months because they can't get parts because of Trump's stupid tariffs. I think agriculture has taken a heck of a hit on a lot of misinformation, and he is not helping the farmer. I mean, we farm about 3,500 acres. We are going to be so far in the red. When are you going to stand up for us instead of kissing his ass for these trade deals? And the tariff. More so the tariffs than the...
When China said they don't give a fuck, they meant it. If you haven't heard, China has ended its beef exports from the U.S. Losing those exports is worth $1.6 billion to the U.S. And you want to guess which state exports the most? Nebraska. And they have a $400 million budget short, which means the Nebraskan ranchers are not going to be able to get a subsidy from the state because they're already $400 million short. China took that beef exports right over to Australia. And China didn't stop there. They are also reducing their soybean exports by 9.5%, or almost $5 billion. And Indiana is going to feel that pain, seeing that they export $2.6 billion, or 60% of their soybean crops, to China. And China is going to subsidize that through Brazil. So that means we are losing again. Have you noticed that they are targeting red states? That seems pretty strategic if you ask me. Targeting.
To all the farmers out there, how are things going? I understand you guys are struggling. Does it surprise you? I mean, you literally thought you would vote a Republican, a New York City slicker is who you thought you would put in the White House, and that he would know anything about the plight of farmers and what they have to go through year after year after year. You thought a guy from New York City would give a damn about what you farmers go through or have any knowledge of it whatsoever. That makes no sense. You weren't thinking about this one, were you? No, you just did what everybody, Trump talks like us. Yeah, let's vote for him. Never mind that his policies are directly against your livelihood. And now you're finding out again that Republicans are not good for farmers. You guys keep voting for Republicans and they don't like you. I've never seen, I wish I could. I don't know when you farmers are going to get it, but you are workers. You want to vote for Democrats, not Republicans. They don't give a shit about what you.
Nebraska, let's talk about property taxes. This is the time of year where Nebraskans across the state are receiving the pink slips that say your property taxes went up 10, 20, 30% this year, like they do every year. And for the last 3 decades, our lawmakers and our governor have been promising property tax relief to no avail. So what did they use our money on? The Nebraska legislature, the state of Nebraska, had a $1.9 billion surplus coming out of the pandemic. And in 2 or 3 years' time, they went from a $1.9 billion surplus to a $400 million deficit. So what did our state spend $2.3 billion on in 3 years' time without making serious property tax reductions? They took your money and they invested it in a new prison. They took your money and they went out to build a canal in Colorado. They took your money and they cut the corporate tax rate twice. They took your money and they cut the income tax rate for the top earners twice. They took your money and they invested it in a number of special interest groups that came and lobbied the legislature. So in Nebraska, we need to get serious about property tax relief. And that looks like electing different people to office. We have to get serious about how are we going to fully fund our public schools while reducing our property tax levy. I have a plan to do that. My name is Jaden Speed. I'm 20 years old and I'm running for the state legislature in Nebraska to flip the script on our politics and to bring back a Nebraska where we can all live.
I don't want to hear shit from the farmers. In the summer of 2023, I went to Washington, D.C. to beg our representatives to fund and fix the Farm Bill. The Republican representatives at the time absolutely said we will not increase any funding for the Farm Bill. That includes Domestic funding, such as SNAP, that includes international funding, such as what the farmers now are crying about. Since then, we've had an election, and farmers, again, voted for the people who gave them a big F you and didn't want to fund things like subsidies for them. This has all been playing out for years. The farmers vote. The farmers aren't stupid. These are very educated people. These are the choices they made. If I make a poor choice, nobody comes in and saves me, right? Right? You all wanted to put Republicans and America first, right? You don't want international aid. You got rid of U.S. aid, which was an independent organization anyways. But when we as Americans were buying food from farmers to send overseas, you said no. You were okay with it. You were okay with it. And now that the crops are in the fields about to rot, now you're like, oh, wait a minute. We don't have a buyer? I told you to get rid of the buyer, and now I'm mad. You can't have it both ways. This is why people online are saying your racism is expensive. Your hate, your ignorance is expensive. There's food on your table. There's no food on their table. Do you know why school children drink milk? Do you know why school children drink milk? It's not because it's good for us. It's a way of funneling government subsidies into the dairy market, dairy farmers. When the government explains these things to you, they call it socialism and they say it's not for you. When I explain it to you, I'm going to call it working together and living in a community, because that's what it is. You have a product and we as a community need to figure out how to sell it so you have money. When we also live in a community, we have schools. We built schools. And then you want people to educate your children, but you don't want just any Joe Blow off the block to come in and educate your kids. You want somebody who has an understanding in child development and psychology and the curriculum, right? You need somebody who understands both the grades below and the grades above so they know where your kid's going, and we can target the kids who are behind and who are ahead. That way, no year of schooling is wasted, right? Do you need educated people to do that for you? But then when you take out a student loan, because the rich people who are also educated, they're not telling their kids not to go to school. But I digress. So you need somebody educated to go to school. Well, us poor little country girls go to school so we can become teachers, so we can educate your kids. Farmers' kids are in our schools, right? Well, us poor little country girls had to take out student loans because our daddies on the farm just never were able to cut it and fund our farming, our education, were they? Nope. Now, our brothers and uncles and other daddies and pawpaws and all the boys, right? They went off to the coal mines. They stayed at the farm. Well, then we all grew up, right? We're all growing up. Now who's going to take over the farm? Who's going to take over the land? Well, that teacher might have some land. She might have inherited some land. And I know I'm using gender-specific roles, but for the sake of getting through these die-hard Republican farmers' heads, I think I have to. I think you have to understand that those little teachers grew up. Now they have student debt, right? They also have the farm. Does that mean that they have property that they would like to keep? Does that mean they would have property that they would like to keep? But their student loans are so criminally high that they now have to give up their land to pay off their student loans. But y'all want subsidies. Now the difference between teachers and college-educated people in our community members, lawyers and such, who farmers also need, bankers and such, who farmers also need. Now the difference is when the farmers sell off their land or lose it, they're out of debt. You get a fresh start. But teachers and lawyers and bankers with their college debt, we're still fucking stuck with it, even if we've lost our land and our houses and everything else. Because living in a community only matters to a farmer when he's going to lose. Funny how.
I have a question for the Nebraska farmers. And this is a serious question. So if anybody that reaches this and is a Nebraska farmer or knows a Nebraska farmer, I'm hoping that you can help me with this. So when you all went to the polls and what was it, 60% of Nebraska voted for Trump? 60% voted for Trump, even though his campaign was primarily about deporting illegals. And you knew that your farms and your crops were picked by illegals. What did you think was going to happen? Like, genuine question. Like, what did you think was going to happen? I'm curious. What did you think was going to happen? Because if you have so many people working your farm and you know that you don't have the proper documentation, did you think that they was going to stick around? I guess this is where my curiosity comes in. What did you think was going to happen? Because the math isn't mathing for me. I'm just saying the math is not mathing for me. Help me out. Help me understand. What was the game plan? Because it seems like what y'all thought was going to happen was, I don't know, y'all was going to get some prisoners to work the fields. Y'all was going to get, I don't know, us to work the fields. Y'all, who did y'all think was going to get to do it? Like, what did y'all think was going to happen? And then, from what I understand, they've also frozen your funds. So I'm just curious, what did y'all think was going to happen? How did y'all think that was going to go when, again, he ran his entire platform on getting rid of illegals? All of them. What y'all think is going to happen? Tell me out.
So that's what we got for American farmers is zero empathy. We want them to fail. That's what you're saying out there. That's what Americans are saying right now is well, next time you'll vote the right way, or that's what you get for who you voted for. That to me, I want to say it doesn't sound very American of people, but here lately, that's all we're doing is complaining.
Okay, this is for MAGA supporting farmers, which is the most of them, the majority of them. This is not what's happening. If you pay attention to all your right-wing media, including Fox News, we on the left have been showing you empathy by trying to scream, this is happening. This is going to happen to farmers. We did it before you elected him, and we've been doing it after he was elected. I can't tell you how many videos I personally made after you elected Trump, where you are being destroyed. That's what empathy is. And it's not a lack of empathy when we just want to stay out of the way of letting the consequences of your actions take root. You're asking us as taxpayers to bail you out. We were bailing you out through U.S. aid and so many other Democratic funded programs. And we were happy to do that. We want those back. I don't see one MAGA supporter demanding that U.S. aid be funded again, because that's what kept a lot of you guys afloat. We on the left have been screaming for that. But if you want to talk about a lack of empathy, it's not It's not going over our heads that you had no empathy whatsoever for our LGBTQ community and what was going to happen to them if you won your election. You had no empathy for transgender people, and those include kids with families who love themselves, each other, families, tight families, going through a hardship like you guys are as farmers. You didn't show empathy for them. You didn't show empathy for women who are being pushed now into this purity culture and this Charlie Kirk warped vision of making us just baby-making machines. You showed no empathy for brown-skinned people trying to earn a living, being thrown to the ground and beat up and kept in for-profit prisons that are benefiting Republican donors. You showed no empathy for any of them. But you're going to come on here in your high fucking horse and tell us we're the ones that don't show empathy. I want you to show one right-wing news source or content creators, Charlie Kirk, any of them, that have been talking the way we have about how farmers are being impacted by the Trump administration. Find one, and I will stand corrected. You're going to find nothing but those of us, the libtards, who've been fighting for your asses.
Controversy. Farmers. Yeah, this old girl's probably done. Since I made my bush hog video, I've had so many people DMing me and messaging me and saying it's not bush hog, it's brush hog, or it's rotary cutting, it's slashing, it's this, it's that. Well, y'all know me. I can't just take people's word for it. Do research. And so I did research, and this is what I've come up with. It doesn't matter. The first tractor-mounted rotary cutter was back in 1946 by the Woods brothers. In 1951, the Bush Hog Company invented a rotary cutter that was innovative for its time. And a farmer who said, that thing can eat through bushes like hogs, is how it got its name, the Bush Hog.
John Deere, Land Pride, Rhino Ag, Woods Equipment, Schultz, and Modern Ag Product, Wertz, and Bushwhacker all have their version of a rotary cutter.
So I think it just depends on where you're at in America as to what you call it. But I think saying bush hog or you're bush hogging is a whole lot more fun than saying I'm going to go rotary cut. We're just all cutting weeds and rocks. So what else do you say that I say differently? Let's stir up some more. You silly American.
America's farmers are struggling, and there was a huge Live Aid concert for Help American Farmers. It was called Farmers Aid, and they had big entertainers performing. And it was being streamed on CNN, nowhere else, and it was huge. But did anybody hear about this? Why not? Because for them to be hosting a huge concert to raise money for struggling farmers in America, what does that say about this current administration? That they are failing the American farmer, who undoubtedly supported this president and have even been coming into town halls and meetings saying, we supported you, Trump. There was one man that said that we were there for you, Trump. You said you love the farmer. And he said that we need the fruit of your love, but they're not getting it. And all this funding that they cut from these schools and programs, and a lot of these billions of dollars were actually helping keep a lot of these local farmers and communities afloat. It is absolutely shameful what's happening. But you didn't hear about this big old concert, did you? It wasn't advertised. It wasn't blown up like some of these other ones. It didn't reach everybody, did it? Ha! Because they don't want you talking about it, right? Let me know what your thoughts are in the chat. Do you think that the American farmer, we need to help out the American farmers, and Trump should be doing something for the American farmers? Them soybeans ain't going nowhere. And we don't use soybeans here in the United States much. Billions of dollars. Let me know what your thoughts are in the chat.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.